Hello my friends, how are you? And welcome to another hot steaming news story from us. I am Sean Ferrick for Trek Culture, and I'm here to talk to you about why Star Trek IV has no crew assembled. On the 15th of February of this year, Paramount held its Investors Day, where they went through, basically they started crunching the numbers and showing off to investors, the goods, the bads, the in-betweens, and started making a whole bunch of announcements. Now, one, of course, the main things to come out of this was the announcement of Star Trek IV. Now, before this was said, there was some concern raised about basically the numbers hadn't been as good as investors had been hoping. Now, that's not to say that Paramount didn't make a lot of money. It made about $8 billion in revenue. That's like 4 Trek Culture vids. Like, that's a lot, you know what I mean? But it actually wasn't quite as much as they had been hoping. Now, there is a whole bunch of percentages and numbers and things that I'm not going to lie to you, I am not massively qualified to discuss with you, but suffice it to say that they made enough money that they're doing okay, not quite as much as they had hoped, but it was enough for them to move forward with a little bit of confidence on both the executives' behalf and to sort of placate investors. Now, their streaming service, which, of course, thank you very much, Paramount Plus, where you can get it, that has done very, very well. That has gone up to about 7.6 million subscribers. That's pretty good, now, to be honest. And shows like Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, and Prodigy are all doing very, very well on that service. And while I know it's sometimes a bit hard to see that on this side of the pond, because of course, as it stands, Paramount Plus has yet to launch in the UK and the EU, or at least some properties, then, sometimes that's a bit like, sure, pull the other one that it's doing so well. But it's enough, as I say, to lead into the confidence of this announcement. So, the announcement, Star Trek IV. J.J. Abrams said, yep, it's happening. Star Trek IV, we're going to start filming by the end of the year. It's all good. Everybody's back. And it's going to be released. This is a big deal. They've set a release date of December 22nd, 2023. Okay, now that's big. Because that means that they have just hung a big, massive sign around their neck that says, this is happening. Now, on the flip side, I do know that in Hollywood, release dates, they're not always set in stone. How you doing, Morbius? You doing good? Hope so. But moving a release date can seriously affect the anticipation, but also the confidence of the audience that's waiting for this. Because, you start to hear, oh, it's been pushed back again. Oh, it's been pushed back again. Why? And while no one is saying that reshoots, for example, are always a bad thing, look at the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, when you get reshoots right. Reshoots are a fact. They're a part of every single production. That said, it's very easy to look at pushed back for reshoots and go, that's not good. However, confidence was there. They announced the date. That is great. So investors were delighted. Audiences were delighted. Let me be fair. Some audiences were delighted. The Kelvin Universe films, they're quite divisive. I will always credit them as, look, they made Star Trek cool and relevant for the audience at the time, and it gave a renewed life to the franchise, which of course had effectively died after Enterprise until 2009, then again in 2013, and then of course again in 2016 with Star Trek Beyond. There was a couple of attempts along the way to get other projects going. Of course, there was the long discussed Tarantino film, which it's dead. Whether it was ever really alive is another question. There was the Noah Hawley project as well. That was gonna be a thing, and then suddenly that wasn't. But current studio head Brian Robbins and J.J. Abrams, delighted. But no one actually told the cast. Now, that's massive. So apparently, representatives for Chris Pine, for Zachary Quinto, for Zoe Saldana, for Simon Pegg, for John Cho, and it hasn't been said, but I'm hoping Sofia Boutella, I would like to see Jayla again, were a little bit surprised that not only was the film announced, but their clients were being used as selling points for this film as well. Now, in a way, that doesn't mean, oh, well, they're all going to say no and this is ridiculous. But what it does mean is that they have all been handed enormous negotiating power. So basically, Paramount has said, yep, this film is happening, and that's not changing. It's happening December 22nd, 2023. We really hope all of the actors come back. So the actors are like, that's no problem. I will be back to you, no worries at all. Stick a 0 on the end of that and I will be back to you, no problem. They now have that power. Particularly, apparently, Chris Pine is the first one to enter negotiations. And back in 2018, the film project that was meant to star Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, who would be returning as George Kirk, fell through over negotiations. Because both actors, of course, their careers have exploded since the first film in 2009. So, I mean, they command a much higher price. But they've effectively been told, listen, come on in, my friend, be grand. So it seems that Paramount is so sure on Star Trek as a property that they are actually willing to give up their own negotiating power, hand it to the stars, and basically just hope that the film makes its money back. Based on a script written by Josh Friedman, Lindsay Beers, Geneva Robertson Dowert, and I did have to check my notes for this one, Cameron Squires, beg your pardon. And so it seems they have a creative team together. Now, apparently it's still in the scripting stages, so they're going to be a bit pressed to start filming by the end of this year to give it enough time to release next year. But look, successful films have turned around in smaller timeframes before, so obviously we would like it to be as best as it could possibly be. In 2016, Star Trek Beyond recouped about it made about $390 million off a budget of between $150 to $190 million. That is not seen as a massive success in the Hollywood accounting scale of things. You want to be making about twice your budget back before it started to call a profit, because you have to account for advertising costs as well. They're usually not counted in that production budget. Usually that can basically double that number. So there's a lot of faith in Star Trek. It has been, quite frankly, in the film industry, it did lose money for Paramount. So there's a lot of hope involved, and well, obviously I'm hoping it does well. I never want to see Star Trek fail. So I really, really hope it does well. I hope that, everyone comes to the table with an open mind, and that at the end of the day, they want to make a good production as opposed to a good financial handshake. But that is way above my pay grade. The film's set to release December 22nd, 2023. If and when news comes in, we will keep you updated every step of the way. You can check us out over on Twitter at Trek Culture. You can catch myself at Sean Ferrick over on Twitter as well. Now, whatever you're doing today or whenever, you look after yourself. You stay safe, you look after your friends and family, you live long and prosper, and check in with people. Thanks very much. Bye.